All right, so are you ready to kind of like ditch that whole like slow and steady wins the race thing? Because today we're diving into Alex Becker's The 10 Pillars of Wealth. And he makes a pretty good case for why getting rich quickly might actually be the smarter move.
Mm.
Have you ever felt like you're stuck on that hamster wheel of just like work, save, retire, with a big question mark over what, enjoying life even looks like?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to tackle that head on today.
What's refreshing about this book is that Becker really doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks about those unspoken risks of the traditional path, things like economic downturns, like you said, unexpected health issues,
Yep.
basically all that stuff that could just totally derail your plans, even if you've been doing everything right,
Yeah, it's
like playing by the rules your whole life.
exactly. And we're going to break down some of those like eye-opening concepts, like why thinking like a video gamer can actually give you an edge in business, like how mastering the art of selling is like unlocking a cheat code for success.
Yeah.
And why taking full responsibility, even when things seem completely out of your control, can be surprisingly powerful.
One of the things that I think sets Becker apart is his emphasis on mindset. He doesn't just give you like strategies and tactics. He helps you shift your beliefs
Hmm,
because he really believes that your mindset is the foundation for everything else.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump right into pillar one, rejecting getting rich slowly. Becker kicks things off with his own story. Going from like $6,000 and no fancy degree to financial freedom in just a few years.
Wow.
Pretty different from that whole like work your way up the corporate ladder approach, right?
Right. Yeah. And he doesn't just like tell his story to brag. He lays out this comparison of the risks and rewards of both paths. And he actually argues that the get rich slowly route is riskier
Yeah.
because so much of it relies on factors you can't control, like the economy or your health, later down the line.
It's true.
You just don't know.
He even breaks it down with some pretty sobering stats. Like, did you know that the average person spends 71% of their life working? Oh, wow.
That leaves shockingly little time to actually like enjoy what you've worked for.
It's true. It makes you think, like, are we sacrificing our best years for a future that might not even turn out the way we planned?
Right.
Becker's point is that true wealth comes from betting on yourself, taking control, and being willing to embrace a different kind of risk.
I like that. That brings us to pillar two, separating time from money. Becker uses this really interesting example, Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street guy. Now, stay with me here. I know he's a controversial figure, but Becker's point is that Belfort built this money machine that made him money, regardless of what he was doing, even when he was, off partying or sinking yachts.
Yeah. Crazy.
And think about this. Even when Belfort was in, legal trouble, his net worth plummeted like negative millions.
Right.
But that money machine kept going. It proves that building systems, processes, and teams that can function without your constant attention is key.
It really does.
Yeah.
So how do we apply this to our own lives, Let's say you're like a baker, passionate about making these delicious treats. How could you build a money machine around that?
Right.
Maybe it's creating an online course, teaching your signature recipes, or developing a line of pre-made baking mixes. Something like that,
Exactly. The key is to think beyond just trading your time for money. Can you automate parts of your process? Can you scale it up without working yourself to the bone? Can you teach others to do what you do?
I love that. Okay, now buckle up for pillar three, because this one might ruffle some feathers. It's called accepting that you must be better than everyone else.
Ooh.
Now, before you jump to conclusions, Becker's not talking about being, like, arrogant or putting others down. He's talking about having an unshakable belief in your own ability to be exceptional.
Okay.
And he backs this up with stories from his own life, like his friend Com, who went through multiple business failures before hitting it big. It wasn't talent or resources that made the difference. It was this unwavering belief in his ability to figure it out.
Wow.
Becker talks about how whenever he pitches business ideas to people, the common response is, I don't know how to do X, or I'm not comfortable with Y. He sees this as a limited mindset, a focus on what you can't do instead of what you could learn to do. It's true.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about shifting your thinking from I can't to I don't know how to yet. It's that growth mindset that opens up possibilities and turns challenges into opportunities to level up.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah.
So how do we cultivate that Mr. Ladies' Man abundance mindset when it comes to money? Becker suggests this mental trick. Imagine writing yourself $1 million check.
Hmm.
that you'll cash, once your business takes off. Suddenly that like $50 you were hesitant to spend on a course or a tool seems like nothing, right?
Yeah, it's a way of shifting your perspective from scarcity to abundance. Those small expenses become investments in your future success.
Okay, now let's tackle pillar 6. Forgetting what if and focusing on what is. You know that feeling of getting stuck in those like hypothetical problems, the
Oh.
what ifs that can keep you spinning your wheels?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's classic analysis paralysis. We spend so much time worrying about what could go wrong that we never actually take any action.
Becker tells this story about two car salesmen, Ben and Roy. Ben is obsessed with knowing every tiny detail about every car, terrified of making a mistake. Roy, on the other hand, focuses on like perfecting his sales pitch and closing deals.
Okay.
Guess who ends up being the top salesman?
Roy, of course.
Ah.
He doesn't let the fear of messing up hold him back. He understands that action, even imperfect action, is the key to progress.
Becker argues that the same principle applies to building wealth. Dwelling on those what-ifs keeps you stuck. He even encourages readers to hurry up and get it wrong because in many cases, those early mistakes are more valuable than passive perfectionism. Yeah, think about it like learning to ride a bike. You can read all the manuals in the world, but you won't actually learn until you get on that bike and probably fall a few times.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's those falls that teach you balance, coordination, and resilience. The same goes for building a business or pursuing any ambitious goal.
Exactly. And once you embrace those early mistakes as learning opportunities, that fear of failure starts to lose its power.
Okay, ready to turn those big dreams into a concrete plan. That's Pillar 7, mapping out actions that achieve goals. Becker uses Donald Trump as an example, not for his political views, but for his ability to visualize and execute large-scale projects.
Okay.
Think about Trump Tower. Before it even existed, he had already mapped out the funding, the team, the legal hurdles, everything.
Yeah, it's that clear vision and strategic planning that allowed him to bring that ambitious project to life.
Now contrast that with how most of us approach our goals. We often get stuck in these vague aspirations like, I want to be rich or I want to travel the world, but without a clear plan for how to actually get there. It's like having a destination in mind but no map or GPS. You might start driving, but you're unlikely to reach your intended destination.
So how do we create that roadmap to success? Becker gives us a step-by-step process. First, define your big goal. What does success look like to you? And be specific.
Don't just say, I want to make $1 million.
Yeah.
How do you plan to make that money? What kind of lifestyle do you envision for yourself? Painting that vivid picture helps you connect emotionally to your goal.
Then break down that big goal into 5 smaller goals, like milestones along the way. Let's say your big goal is to build a successful software company. A smaller goal might be to develop a minimum viable product, MVP, a basic version of your software that you can test with early users.
Exactly. And then you break down those smaller goals into even smaller, actionable steps. What specific tasks do you need to complete each day or each week to reach those milestones?
And if you start feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of it all, just remember Pillar 6. Forget those what-ifs and focus on the task at hand. What's the one thing you can do right now to move closer to your goal?
It's about taking consistent action, one step at a time. You don't have to have it all figured out to get started.
All right, let's shift gears to Pillar 8, focusing solely on what gets you paid. To illustrate this, Becker uses a slightly silly analogy. Imagine you get paid to run. Literally, the faster you run, the more money you make.
Okay.
It sounds absurd, but it highlights a really important point. Prioritize those activities that directly contribute to your income.
So in this scenario, you'd want to spend as much time as possible actually running, right?
Right.
Everything else, cooking, cleaning, laundry, would either be eliminated or delegated.
And it's the same in business. What are the 20% of activities that generate 80% of your results? Those are the tasks you want to focus on.
He also has this interesting concept that the same actions that make you wealthy can eventually stop you from becoming wealthier. Because what works at one stage of your journey might not be effective at the next level.
Exactly. You can't expect to achieve exponential growth by simply doing more of what you're already doing.
Becker suggests a system for identifying your highest ROI activities. Things like closing deals, building strategic partnerships, or developing innovative products. And then ruthlessly eliminating those low ROI activities that are no longer serving your goals.
Let's say you're a marketing consultant and you're spending a lot of time on cold calling and sending generic emails. Those activities might have been effective in the beginning, but as you grow, they become less and less efficient.
Instead, you might shift your focus to building relationships with key influencers, speaking at industry events, or creating high-value content that attracts clients to you.
Okay, ready for a mind-bending concept. Pillar 9. People give money to people that get people. This one's all about the psychology of wealth creation.
Interesting.
Becker starts by challenging our conventional view of money. He argues that money isn't actually real, at least not in the way most people think about it.
Okay.
He makes this bold statement: money is power over other people,
Wow.
because money only has value because people give it value. It's a system of exchange based on shared beliefs and perceptions.
Think about it. If you were stranded on a deserted island, a suitcase full of cash wouldn't do you much good, right?
Right.
It's those social interactions, those transactions between people that give money its power.
So if you want to understand wealth, you need to understand people. You need to understand what motivates them, what they desire, what makes them tick.
Becker uses the example of World of Warcraft, that massively popular online game. Millions of people spend countless hours grinding away in this virtual world, even though there's no real-world financial reward.
And it's because the game taps into those deep psychological drivers: competition, achievement, social connection. Successful entrepreneurs understand these drivers and leverage them to build businesses that people love.
And that's where selling comes in. Becker calls it the quickest hack to making it.
Selling at its core is about persuasion and influence. It's about understanding your audience and connecting with them on an emotional level.
Becker even says, mediocre entrepreneurs provide and sell products. Wildly successful entrepreneurs provide and sell emotions. Think about brands like Apple, Ferrari, or Starbucks. They've created a sense of identity and aspiration that goes beyond the functional benefits of their products.
People buy those products because of how they make them feel: cool, sophisticated, successful. And that emotional connection is what drives loyalty and ultimately profits. So how do we tap into that power of emotion and connect with our audience on a deeper level?
Well, Becker says it all starts with understanding human psychology.
Okay.
He encourages us to study selling, leadership, and emotional intelligence.
Okay.
It's not about manipulating people, it's about understanding what drives them and using that knowledge to create products and services that genuinely improve their lives.
And remember, understanding people is a skill that can be learned and developed.
Absolutely.
So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, practice your sales pitch, and get comfortable connecting with others.
For those who are already, further along in their journey, Becker suggests taking a step back and looking at your business from the customer's perspective. What feeling are you trying to sell? How can you make their experience more engaging and emotionally resonant?
He shares a great example of how he applied this principle to his own SEO company. He was struggling to generate leads and was spending a ton of money on advertising. Instead of focusing on what he wanted, he shifted his attention to what his target audience wanted. He started creating valuable content that addressed their pain points and offered solutions.
So smart.
And guess what? Not only did his sales double, but his advertising costs plummeted. Talk about a win-win.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that understanding your audience and providing genuine value is the key to sustainable success.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to Pillar 10. Finding competitive friends and suitable mentors. Becker brings back that World of Warcraft analogy, pointing out how this online game motivates people to put in crazy hours, often more than they would dedicate to their real-life goals.
Yeah, it's amazing how a game can tap into our competitive spirit and drive us to achieve extraordinary things, even if those achievements are purely virtual. Becker's point is that we can harness that same energy in our pursuit of wealth.
He talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are on the same wavelength, people who are ambitious, driven, and supportive of your goals. You know that saying, you are who you hang out with? Well, it's true. If you're constantly around people who are content with mediocrity, it's going to be a lot harder to break free from that mindset.
Right.
He encourages us to actively seek out communities, groups, and events where we can connect with like-minded individuals. Start with free groups and forums, get a feel for the landscape, and see who the leaders are.
Okay.
Then connect with those individuals and find out where they hang out, often in paid, higher quality groups where you can access more valuable information and support.
And don't underestimate the power of competitive friendships. Having people who push you to be your best and celebrate your successes along the way can make all the difference.
It's that friendly rivalry that keeps you motivated and accountable. You're not just competing against the world, you're also striving to keep up with your peers. Becker suggests forming a small group of friends with whom you can regularly communicate, share ideas, and compare notes.
It's like having your own personal mastermind group where you can learn from each other's experiences and accelerate your progress.
Now let's talk about mentors. Becker stresses the importance of finding suitable mentors, people who have already achieved what you aspire to achieve. A good mentor can provide invaluable guidance, shortcuts, and insights that can save you years of trial and error.
But he cautions against seeking mentorship from those who are too far ahead of you on the path. Someone who's built a billion-dollar empire might not be able to relate to the challenges you're facing as a beginner.
It's about finding someone who's like a few steps ahead, someone who can remember what it was like to be in your shoes and offer relevant advice.
And when choosing a mentor, consider whether they make most of their money from mentoring or if they mentor as a side hustle. Those who are still actively engaged in their primary business or field are more likely to have up-to-date knowledge and practical insights.
So choose your influences wisely. Surround yourself with people who elevate you rather than drag you down. Remember, we have a choice in who we allow into our lives.
Now, Becker includes a bonus pillar in his book, which he calls the secret pillar, making the decision to be wealthy at any cost.
He argues that this is the foundation upon which all the other pillars rest. It's about making a conscious, unwavering commitment to achieving financial success. Wanting to be wealthy isn't enough. You have to choose it, embrace it, and be willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Becker acknowledges that there will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt along the way. But those who are truly committed will persevere and ultimately achieve their goals.
It's about adopting that winner's mindset, believing in yourself, taking ownership of your choices, and never giving up on your dreams. So there you have it, a deep dive into Alex Becker's 10 Pillars of Wealth. We've covered a lot of ground today, from rejecting that traditional get-rich-slowly approach to embracing the power of self-belief and surrounding yourself with the right people.
We encourage you to reflect on these pillars and consider which ones resonate most strongly with you. What's one action you can take today inspired by this discussion to move closer to your financial goals?
Remember, success is not a matter of luck or circumstance. It's about adopting empowering beliefs and taking consistent action. And if you're hungry for even more insights, we highly recommend checking out Becker's book, The 10 Pillars of Wealth. It's packed with practical advice, real-world examples, and that unique, no-nonsense perspective that Becker is known for. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for that extraordinary life you deserve.